Well, good morning. It's great to see you all here this morning. It's fantastic to be in God's house and to talk to God's people about God's stuff. Nothing better. I want to talk to you this morning a bit about pretty much what Annette was saying, a bit of that too. Look, there's we all need healing in some regard. Physical healing and spiritual healing. I just want to draw a distinction between those two and to talk a little bit about those. We know what it is to be physically ill, don't we? Or physically suffering in some way. Like I have a sore shoulder at the moment, right? It's nothing seriously wrong with it, but it's just not quite right. So if any physios here this morning, but no. It's a while ago I did something to it. Now, my wife would tell you that it's because I don't act my age, but I reject those words in Jesus' name. I was doing some chin-ups, chin-ups, and then I noticed that my daughter-in-law, who's a physical trainer, she was doing them the other way, with the hands the other way. Like you can do chin-ups this way, and that's how I've been doing them for years. But then I noticed that she was doing them with her hands this way, and I thought, I should do that too. So I did that. Now, usually I do about 5 or 6 this way, and then I turned my arms around that way and did 5 that way. The next day, this stiff muscle, shoulder was stiff. Well, it's been like that since January. It hasn't come good, right? See, maybe because I keep doing chin. Now, there are things that we do which can cause us harm. Like that. If you play soccer, you'll probably end up with sore knees. And if you've got damaged knees, you probably shouldn't play soccer quite so much, or try and wind it back a little bit. We know that, don't we? We learn. An old bloke once said to me, "You're your own physician or a fool at 40." In other words, after a while on this earth, you should get to learn what you can do that injures yourself and what you can't do or shouldn't do. Now, we all know the rules here, and I'll just reiterate them for those of us who can't get it through our skulls. When you're 18, you can do certain things that you can't do when you're 50 or 60, right? Even though we think we can still do it up here, we've got to wind it back a bit. That's the key to a long, healthy, shoulder pain-free life, is to be able to wind it back as we get older. But there are things that we do that cause us injury. Then there are diseases that come that cause us illness, aren't there? We know that. We've all heard about COVID, and sometimes it can last a little bit longer, and when you're sick, you've got to take time off. That's the big lesson we've learnt with COVID, is that if you're sick, stay home, and it's been enforced. We should have been doing that all along, but no, this has helped us to realise that when we are sick, it's good to take time off and get better. Otherwise, you're not going to get better. And then there's people who suffer this long COVID thing, and it can develop into long COVID if you don't actually take the time off to get better. We've seen that in a few situations. So there are diseases come in from outside which make us sick, and we need to be able to do things to combat that. Then there's that other kind of illness that you're born with. Some illnesses you're born with, like, a heart condition or some congenital spine problem or whatever. We know that there are those kinds of things too. So they're the physical illnesses that we know. And that example, I want to bring that as an example to think about spiritual problems, spiritual illness. We might even say spiritual disease. Pretty much the same kind of thing. There are things we do, we are born with a spiritual congenital abnormality. And that is, we are born separate from God with this innate intention to go against God's direction. It's just something we're born with. Then there are other things that we do, or we might do something which causes us spiritual damage. When you cheat, steal, lie, deceive, those kinds of things, you do bad stuff. When you do bad things, it might get you into trouble physically, but it also causes you spiritual damage. It entrenches and hardens your heart in a kind of rebelliousness against God. Do you see what I mean there? It's a spiritual damage. It's a spiritual injury which we cause ourselves. Just like, doing something physically that you shouldn't actually do, lifting something the wrong way and causing a back injury. When you do something that you're not designed for, and we're not designed to do things bad against each other, it causes us spiritual injury. But then there are things that happen to you, a bit like the COVID-19 physically, right? But spiritually, there are things from the outside that happen to you when people, maybe other people do something bad against you. It creates, it might make you sad, it might cause, emotional trauma, but it also does spiritual damage to you. And that's often the hardest thing to get rid of and to overcome. See, I want to talk about healing, but not physical healing. I want to talk about spiritual healing. It's into this spiritual injury and spiritual damage that Jesus comes with the gospel. Jesus comes with the good news. Jesus comes with God's love into our spiritual brokenness to bring us wholeness. Jesus wants to bring wholeness and healing into the areas of our lives which are broken. They may be relationships, broken, troubled relationships. Jesus wants to come into our lives, come into that area of brokenness, that area of damage, and bring repair, bring healing and wholeness. Jesus wants to step into our hopelessness, where we've lost sense of who we are or where we are, and into that hopelessness, Jesus wants to speak and bring us wholeness and bring us healing. Jesus wants to reach into our lostness, and we may have be so confused and troubled in today's world that we've even lost who we are. And Jesus wants to speak into that lostness and that loneliness and that troubled nature, that troubled spirit, and he wants to bring us back to himself and give us a new start, new life, new hope. The big impact of evil is not so much the crimes and things that we see in our world, but it's the effect that those things have on people. It's the mistrust of society. It's the wondering if we're going to be okay. It's the looking over our shoulder, wondering who we can trust. Those things, that's not how we were designed as people. Human beings are designed to love one another, to care for one another, to nurture one another, and to be connected. We need those things. And the troubles we see in the world breaks those things down and takes us away from our God-intended life. Are you a little bit lost this morning? Are you a little bit hurt? Maybe a little bit damaged or spiritually injured? Then it's into your life that Jesus speaks this morning. Jesus has won for you freedom, healing, and hope by his death on the cross. When Jesus went to the cross, he took upon himself the troubles, the spiritual rebellion, the hopelessness, the sin of the whole world. And that can be you. Now maybe you're saying, well, God knows my troubles, why doesn't he fix me? Well, God won't force this upon you. That's the thing. When Jesus died on the cross, he died for your freedom. He won for you freedom, spiritual freedom. And so he gives you the keys to your destiny. And he says, here, I would love to teach you how to use this. This is your new life. I want you to grow into it. And he gives it to us, but he won't force us into it. He calls you to himself, but he won't whip you until you come to him. He doesn't throw a chain around you and pull you. If only he would, it'd be so much easier. But no, he won for us freedom, and that freedom is yours. And so he calls you to be his own. So if you're troubled, if you're lost, if you're hurt by what the world has done to you or by what you've done in the world, then please know that the healing and the hope and the restoration and the renewal is all there for you. And Jesus holds out his hand and he says, come to me, all you are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Come to me and I will give you healing. Come to me, I will give you hope. Come to me, I will give you new life. But he gives the choice to you. He won't force it upon you. If that's you, if you need a bit of this healing and hope, if Jesus is calling into your heart today, or if you're despairing, saying, I don't know where I'm going anymore, Lord. I don't even know if you're there anymore. If the cry of your heart is, Lord, please rescue me, then make contact. Step forward. God's community is there to help you. God's community is there to relay to you the promises that he's given us. So maybe you don't want to come up the front and have me pray for you and talk to me about all your troubles, and maybe that's not you, or maybe you're not quite there yet. But please know that we're here ready to help you, ready to pray for you. And in the back of some of these seats you'll find visitors' cards. And some of them get lost from time to time. I don't know if they've all been replaced. But you could write your name there and make contact with us. And as the offering plate comes around, you can put your name in there or give it to someone on the way out. If there's no visitors' cards there are visitors' cards down the back that you can fill in. And just tick the box that says, I want to see the pastor and I want to see him now. Well, I think there's an urgent and not urgent. Right. Or come to one of the people. I mean, Annette's been out the front here today, I'm going to drop her in it and say, if you want to discover this healing and hope, then talk to Annette or Dave and Candy, because they've been singled out today already, or Neil because he played the guitar. But any of these people can help you, or give us a call. You know, whether you've been in church for a long time, whether you've been a Christian all your life, and maybe you just feel a bit lost and you just need to reconnect with God, then talk to us, because that's how we do that. Or if you've never really connected with God, or you don't feel that He's ever really made a real impact in your life, and you reckon it's time He did, then give us a call and we can help you with that. Don't live another day. Don't go through another day living in oppression or hopelessness or despair. It's not worth it, and it's not necessary. That freedom has been won for you. Take it now. May God's peace be with you this week and always. May you know His presence with you. May His healing rest upon you, that as you go through this week, you feel His presence and know His glory. Peace be with you. Amen.